Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the special meeting of the Lebanon Redevelopment Commission on this fabulous Tuesday evening. We are going to go ahead and call ourselves to order, and we'll begin as we do with every meeting, which is with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty, thank you, folks. And just to point out to the folks on TV, we do have all members present. So we will move forward first with the approval of minutes. I believe everybody received a copy of the minutes in November. So I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes.
No, second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify with an aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. That motion does carry. So that moves us on to old business. We do have one item under old business, and that is the offer sheet in regards to what's fondly known as the NetTech building, which is 124-126 North Lebanon Street. And as you recall, we did place an RFP out on that property that is currently owned by the Redevelopment Commission. We received 3 bids on that property. And we did have some discussion in executive session on some of the details of those. We did hear those proposals from each of the members as well. Given kind of where we're at, so we were able to place the RFP. We did open those bids in the public meeting. We had the discussion with each of those bidders, and then we did discuss in executive session some contractual items. So any questions from Derek is here in the audience. If anyone on the commission has any questions from him or in regards to any of the specifics in those proposals. So seeing none, one item that I believe we may consider, so in kind of evaluating the 3 proposals, what we did find within the RFP is there was a little bit of vagueness, which got us to a place where we were really comparing apples to oranges to bananas, and some people just don't like bananas. So one thing that may be in consideration with the commission would be potentially to reject all of the proposals on the initial RFP, so we are able to issue an offer sheet with more clear definition on some of the items that were left a little bit open to interpretation, which may allow us to have a better comparison side by side within hopefully the same applicants plus potentially any more, but definitely within the applicants that we saw before us on the first round. Any thoughts behind that as a potential?
Now, it is my understanding that as we reviewed it, and Rob, you might need to correct me here, but none of them specifically, I mean, to the T followed the RFP as written, correct? Which is the difficult part here.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, we have just different assumptions as it relates to the grants, certainly different offering prices and different uses.
So one of the ideas as we were to move forward, if that were to be the option this commission chooses, would be to set parameters of a not to exceed amount on those grants. Obviously, with grants, the difficult part is we can't guarantee any of those funds at any point, but if we all kind of start with the same basis, those pro forma sheets will be kind of able to compare side by side. So that's kind of where my thought is on being able to potentially move that direction. Yeah, absolutely.
Question for Rob. Is it possible, instead of reopening, eliminating and reopening, to add opportunity for modification to the existing RFP proposals that we received? So take the 3 submissions, if they so choose to modify based on parameters that we identify, would that expedite the process?
Well, Dr. Taylor, I think that could be a possibility. I think by statute, the commission has the ability to reject all bids or make a determination, which is the highest and best bidder. I think one of the things that, we talked about is just looking at it if we do make modifications versus opening up, rejecting all and then starting over, is you may have a potential bidder out there that could have a concern saying, hey, had I known these modifications were going to be made, I would have liked to had an opportunity to participate. With respect to timing, one of the things that we've looked at is moving as quickly as possible as far as publication, trying to get, if that would be the commission's desire, to really get the offering sheet clarified with any input that this commission would like to have, and then get it publicized, advertised, certainly communicated to the members that are, certainly in the public as well as others. And then we could move very quickly in January.
You define very quickly.
Well, I think,
I'm asking for,
yeah, I think a lot of it, a lot of it depends on how quickly we can get, we can move quickly on our end to get something. It's how quickly can we get it to the paper. So it needs to be advertised 2 times. In theory, if we were going to move as quickly as possible, we could have a due date, let's just say the first week of January. You could have something potentially at the first meeting in January to this body. And then whether or not you want to have a special meeting or not would be up to you, but if not, then we could move in the February meeting.
We could potentially just say there would be a potential for interviews, not necessarily have interviews again. We've already been through, the 3 bidders have already been through all that. So that would be how it would be written as well. Right? We have the option
Yep.
to do that.
Yep, be correct.
just again, clarification, we're potentially moving the process back 60 to 90 days.
I think 60 days, realistically. I mean, if you're counting the next 2 weeks, I mean, maybe not quite that much, actually.
And again,
Yeah.
concede that it's a difficult time with the holidays
Yeah.
and Christmas, New Year's, or Christmas, New Year's. It's not holidays, it's Christmas, New Year's. I understand, and I applaud my fellow commissioners. We've done a very thorough and very focused discussion. I will be honest, though, I have concerns that we could delay this. If it goes beyond 60 to 90 to 180, costs go up, but also projects get strung out. So I will work on the premise of a possible 60-day, understanding there'll be additional meetings, Mr. President, is that correct?
If necessary, if we were to consider rejecting the RFP this evening, I would think then we could entertain a motion of potentially reissuing that RFP, given final legal review, right, this evening, and then that would allow it to be issued, and then you're looking January, February for opening and moving forward.
Yeah, I think, just to be clear again, I mean, with respect to some of the differences that we saw in the 3 responses that were provided, there were some assumptions made. So assuming that we can clarify those, add any other input that this commission would like to have, we can move very quickly on the legal side. And as I indicated, I think, the way that the timing works out, in theory, we could get something, to be before you at your January meeting, and if you would like to have a special meeting, then we can certainly work to
It
do that.
wouldn't, I don't think it would require a special meeting. However, if we wanted to expedite, we could consider a special meeting in, say, late January.
So just again to clarify and then help me understand, the misperception of the proposal process was on part of the bidder or on the part of the commission?
I don't like to place blame personally.
But I think it's important, I mean.
So,
if
yeah,
it's
I
the
think-
bidders, then
yeah, so-
we'll put it back on them and it's delayed. If it's us,
I think some of the, right, so I think some of the vagueness, so just to kind of set the stage a little bit, there are potential grant monies around this project, and within that potential grant money, there was conversation about potential max grants, and the verbiage around how those grants would work. As an example, is a building an address, or is it the physical shell? So there were some proposals that would consider that be an address, even though it's a one shell of a building, it obtains two addresses, so could potentially qualify for double the grant under that interpretation. Whereas someone else assumes it's the physical shell, so that interpretation would be, it would be a single grant. So I think that's where we saw some of the difference. I don't necessarily want to say that it was on the bidder or on the commission necessarily. I just think that we can clarify it better. One of the conversations we had was a not-to-exceed grant. That way, it would be level across all of the opportunities.
no, I appreciate that, but I think it's, we also need to keep in mind, when it comes to grants, it's applicant beware. Grants are not a given, and it's not an assumption that those dollars are going to come, and I would, as I read the initial proposals, I kind of felt that that was the understanding in the submitters, that there was potential for the grant dollars, but there was no guarantee. Now, having said that, I certainly am not pointing blame or putting out there. Again, my biggest concern is we're going to delay the process. That's not fair to those that we answer to in the public, nor is it fair to those that presented their proposals. Although I do want to have a thorough opportunity. I don't want any finger pointing coming after, but having said that, I would say, again, grants are always going to be the option. We could put a not to exceed, and you just don't get it. Trust me, I've been the recipient of you don't get it.
Right.
So, and I would hope that our three submittees, the three proposals, understand that the grant's not a given. And knowing a couple of them, I think they do understand that it would be nice to have, but it doesn't, just because you're awarded the project, you're not going to get the grant. And that's,
And some of the grants even are based on the end use of the building, correct?
Correct, yeah. And outside of this body's,
Outside of
and
this.
Authority.
we had no. So I certainly appreciate it, Mr. President. I didn't
yeah.
to
no,
imply that it
absolutely.
was pointing fingers. I'm just trying to get some clarification and expedite the process and be fair to both our taxpayers and also the submitters of the proposal. Because there's money that's invested when you put a proposal together.
Correct.
So I think it's important we keep that in mind. You know, if we just reject the proposals, that's lost sweat and tears and time and money. So,
Right.
Again, thank you for my 2 minutes on a soapbox.
Absolutely. Commission,
Um,
any other?
My only comment is if we decide to go down this path, okay, is that we, when we rewrite the RFP, that we all understand what the RFP is saying, and we all agree to the RFP before it goes out and so forth. So, to me, I felt like there was a little misunderstanding of what was there, and then, I'd rather see it, there was all apples to apples that's laid out there.
Right.
And so everybody understands, it's, I live in an RFP world, and, when you see things they don't match, it just,
Right.
it
Clear as mud.
sends up red flags, so.
Perfect. Yeah. Commission, if you're good with it, we'll go ahead and take some public comment, if you're okay with that. Come on up.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, if you just give us your name.
Martin Schrader with AT Vaughn.
Thank you.
To clarify on our proposal, we definitely would like to pursue whatever grants and things are available. That has nothing to do with our ability and desire to deliver on the project. We're not contingent on a grant. We would prefer to have one. We'd prefer to have many of them. But that has nothing to do with our proposal or our offer, and we're ready to go right now. So I just want that to be heard. Do with it as you see fit.
Thank you.
I think we understood that from everybody the same way. You know, I don't think from the other parties that the grant was part, you know, they were hoping to get a grant to help them, but I don't think anybody really counted on it. I don't think they would get that.
Any other members of the public wish to have comment? I just want to give equal to all parties. Good deal. So, given the information before us, guess it's essentially on the commission at this point to either A, select a proposal, and I would entertain a motion to that effect, or choose to firm up the RFP, go ahead and reject the 3 bids that we have currently, and know that we're on an aggressive time schedule to get that republished with the clarity built into it and move forward with that direction.
I'll make the motion to reject all bids and put a new RFP out with clarifications on grants and expectations.
Okay. So we first have a motion to reject the 3 bids that we have received on the initial RFP. Do we have a second? I will actually second that motion. I do believe this one may come down to a split vote, so I'm going to go ahead and call for a roll call vote. We do have our secretary performing remotely this evening, so I do assure you that that's being taken care of, but I will also tabulate the vote here locally. So starting at each end, we'll start with Mr. Parks.
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Taylor?
Nay.
Mr. Robertson?
No.
And Mr. Campbell. So the noes have it, so that motion does not carry. So with that being said, the current feeling of the commission is to not reject the bids, and I would entertain a motion otherwise.
I'll make a motion that we accept the AT Vaughn proposal for the building project.
Second that.
We have a motion and a second to accept the AT Vaughn proposal. Again, we will do a roll call vote in the same order. Mr. Parks?
Nay.
Nay. Dr. Taylor?
Nay.
Nay. Mr. Robertson?
Yes.
Yes. And Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Yes as well. I am voting a nay, which has successfully nayed that vote as well. I'll have 2 motions that have not passed. Any other motions care to be made? Or we could look to table the item until the January meeting.
I'll make the motion to accept the bid from Taylor.
So the DM Taylor bid, Douglas Homes. So that is the bid under Douglas Homes. We have a motion to accept that bid.
I'll second that motion.
Got a second. I bet you know a roll call vote's coming. Mr. Parks?
Aye.
Dr. Taylor?
Aye.
Mr. Robertson?
No.
And Mr. Campbell?
No.
I will vote in the affirmative, so I do vote yes, meaning that the Douglas Homes proposal does carry on a 3-2 vote and is accepted as the proposal on this RFP. Next steps from here is we will work with the legal team to draft up the legal documents in order to proceed with the project and make sure that we adhere, obviously, to all rules on our side, but also to confirm that the commission is protected and we get an amazing project. So that was much more eventful than any other vote that we've partaken in this year. So I want to thank all of those that were involved. Obviously, this RFP was a little bit different than anything that we've issued in the past. And I think we got 3 great proposals, to be honest with you. And I think that's what you saw up here was just some difference in opinion on what the final should look like. And overall, I'm excited for what this means for our downtown and very excited to get rid of some ugly white siding, so. Yes,
If I may, I would concur. In my 7 years now on the RDC, I think this has been one of the most heavily discussed and researched projects, but I will tell you, I take that as an affirmative compliment because the proposals were exceptional. That simply says that we've come a long way as a city in attracting quality, and that we've come a long way as a commission in looking at what is in the best interest of just not a particular property, but in our community as a whole. And I take great pride in that, and I appreciate the conversation that was had at all levels. And a yay or nay does not distract from the passion that the members of this commission showed and demonstrated in multiple meetings to have the best interest of our community. So as a member of the commission, as a member of the community, I'm very pleased that it came down to this. I know some folks aren't, but I will tell you there's been years past where this wouldn't have been an issue or even a topic of discussion. So as a citizen, I'm very, very excited about what we've done. As a member of the commission, I'm honored to be part of a group that has this much dedication and commitment to our community and the advancement we have. Thank you, sir.
awesome, thank you very much. Any other comments from the commission on that matter? So with that, we will move on to our new business. We do have one item of new business this evening, and that is in regards to Resolution 2023-13. This is a first amendment to an economic development agreement with Cardin Associates. This is in reference to the Fieldhouse project. Rob, you want to give us a little color on this one?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Commission members, as you've been given a brief summary of this, you may recall that a year ago, after many months of design, negotiation, and work, it was brought before this body, an economic development agreement related to the Fieldhouse project, Hickory Junction. And this body, along with the city council, the building corporation, and the Economic Development Commission approved 2 series of bonds. Series A, 2022A, was the Fieldhouse. Series B is the public infrastructure. Excuse me. The project, as you may know, if you've been following it related to the Hickory Junction side of it, is mostly complete. In fact, we've been advised that the developer has tournaments that are already set to be up and running in February of '24. It's been brought to the city's attention that the developer is, again, mostly complete. However, it is short financially to complete that project. And pursuant to our economic development agreement that this body, as well as the other bodies, negotiated, that gap, if you will, is the responsibility of the developer. It's not a surprise, as I'm sure each of us understand the cost of construction and everything that are related to that. Mr. Bontrager couldn't be here this evening, but he's been intimately involved in reviewing the pay applications and going through it along as the respective banking bodies. When anytime a pay application is submitted, then it goes through that approval process. So what the developer has obtained is a loan in the amount of $7 million from Farmers Bank. And Farmers Bank is willing to close by year end. It would like to take a mortgage on the property, but as you may also recall, as part of the collateral and the consideration that's set out in the economic development agreement, the owner of the property, CA Fieldhouse, provided the city of Lebanon a $10,600,000 promissory note as additional security and granted a mortgage in favor of the city of Lebanon. So that's all spelled out in the economic development agreement. It's very voluminous. You may or may not recall all that. It's separate and apart from the bond side of it. And so we've had a number of discussions with bond counsel on both sides. So there's no bond approval that's needed. This is outside it. But however, this body did sign off on the economic development agreement. And we felt it necessary to bring it to your attention, having been involved in that process. And being made aware that the Farmers Bank is asking that the city of Lebanon subordinate its $10,600,000 mortgage in favor of them going into first place for $7 million. And what the developer has offered up to the city is some additional revenue sources that may be through its tournaments and its gate. There would be about approximately $5.5 million, as well as it is memorialized court time that could be given to the city of Lebanon, approximately 10 hours per week. And then this went before the city council last night, and I know it was brought out that who would administer that. I know, one of our councilmen and commissioners suggested that the Parks Department could monitor that. So that none of that's really been fine-tuned yet, but it's been memorialized in this amendment. I will tell you that we're still working through all the details. So one of the things that we've asked, because this is fairly fast track, is that if the commission were to be agreeable to allow farmers to come in first place and then subordinate the mortgage and agree to amend the economic development agreement, that we would authorize the president to work along with the mayor and any other bodies just to finalize all the details. You've been given an amendment to the economic development agreement, and it's pretty well set, but however, the loan documents that Farmers Bank has provided, those still need to be reviewed and finalized to make sure that the $7 million is $7 million and not $20 million, for example. The other thing that I know Mr. Bontrager confirmed last evening, that the appraised value of the field house is going to be in the neighborhood of $35 million, to give you an idea. So we have, to put it in perspective, what you would have is, again, thinking worst case scenarios, you have a project that is mostly complete. You'll have a $7 million potentially mortgage on it. You have the city's $10.6 million mortgage that presumably could be increased to that $5.5 million that I was referenced, and then you would still have presumably at the appraised value equity in the building if everything hit the fan. So it's, I know it's one of these things that, again, none of us want to hear, but it's, again, as others have told us, hey, they're almost there. It's, they have apparently, tournaments and everything lined up to go in February. And so it's one of these things that they're not coming to this body asking for the $7 million. They're just asking that the city would subordinate its mortgage to allow them to get the additional funds to complete the field house. So with that, questions? I know I've spoken, well, a couple of you are the members were at the meeting last evening. I know you've seen some of the briefing, but again, I'm happy to answer any questions and you may have.
Any questions or comments from the commission?
It passed last night, correct?
Yeah, the council passed its resolution 5-1. There was one council member absent.
That wasn't a negative.
What's that? No, no,
5 yea, 1 nay?
correct.
One
one
absent.
One
Okay.
absent, yeah.
Just banker math. So that puts me, I'm just using round numbers, if we have the 10 million lien plus the 7 million that we would be subordinated to, plus the additional 5 that Rob was discussing, puts us only at 22 million in total lien on 35 million valuation. So it's about a 62 to 63% loan to value, which in my world is is definitely an acceptable number. Usually in these places we're, speaking for myself, but in deals that I've worked before, as long as we're under 75, we typically feel fairly comfortable in those numbers. So just some color from my day job for you guys. Other questions, comments?
I struggle a little bit with this. I mean, you sign a contract, you got a deal. I understand there's costs involved, but that should have been factored in. I also appreciate the 62% loan to value. That's acceptable. I think in your world would be acceptable in my former world. But I struggle, especially given the fact we've just approved a much smaller project, but, this comes back at that same way, so. I have no real objection, I just wanted to voice it. 22 million versus the 35 million assessed value.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? With that, I would entertain a motion in regards to Resolution 2023-13. And again, if within your motion, you would allow myself and the mayor to act on behalf of this commission? Myself and the mayor, or the mayor?
I think you would, if the motion were to be made to approve this resolution, it would be also to allow the president of the commission to work to finalize any additional details and agreements that are related to the amendment to the economic development agreement.
That sounded like a very legal way to say that.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 2023-13, and allow our president to participate in negotiations and the contract, so forth.
Perfect. So we do have that motion. Do we have a second? You have a motion and a second?
Yep.
All those in favor, please signify with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. That motion does carry. Thank you, folks. I appreciate it. Another one of those that's bringing a lot of great things into our community. So overall, I think it's a greater good. I'm not going to lie, the banking institution does hurt my heart just a little bit, but that's a total aside there. So with that, folks, I do have one more item. I would like us to pay our bills, so I would entertain a motion on our claims.
I move we pay our claims as presented.
Motion to pay the claims. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion does carry.
Make a
And
motion, we
last,
adjourn?
we do have a motion to adjourn on the table. Any seconds?
I'll second.
We have a second from Mr. Parks. All those in favor signify with an aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Nope. We are adjourned. The next
Happy holidays
meeting.
all.
Absolutely, yes. From the Redevelopment Commission, happy holidays to the commissioners, the folks in the audience, and then, of course, you on television as well. Our next meeting will be scheduled for Monday, January 8th at 6:30 PM.
One more time, please, Mr. President, January 8th.